going to share tips, tools, and resources for health coaches and professionals so that you can confidently solve your clients' health issues. My name is Piper Gibson, and I am your host of Health Coach Tip Tuesday. And joining me this week is Reed Davis, and we are going to be talking about hidden stressors and the testing that you should be looking at with all of your clients. So I am really excited to have Reed joining me today. If you are just joining, make sure to drop the word test below this video, and we are going to send you our 3-step guide for getting real results. So make sure to drop the word test. If you are on YouTube, make sure to go down to the bio and you can grab the link for that 3-step guide. Reed, how are you today? I'm excited to have you join me.
Doing fantastic. In spite of the horrible storm we had last night, broke a lot of my plants. I have these plants outside. I collect succulents in these great big Mexican pots. They got smashed. I had chairs blown into the pool. My heaters out there, those like restaurant type heaters, blew over. My umbrellas blew over. It was kind of rough. We had hail. This is Southern California. It's not supposed to hail. Okay.
I thought it was pretty wild that you guys had a tornado warning yesterday.
Unbelievable. Yeah, for this area. I mean, I do live up in the hills outside of San Diego, not down by the ocean, so it's worse out here.
Yeah, no, I heard that the weather was pretty bad yesterday, and it's pretty cold and windy here. I think you sent your nasty weather over this direction, so not fabulous.
Yeah, take it. You can have it back.
No, thanks. I don't want it. I'm sending it somewhere else. All right, we have a whole bunch of people watching, so make sure.
Good, I see that. Tamala, Suzanne.
Yeah, make sure to drop the word test below. We are going to send you that 3-step guide to getting real results for yourself and for your clients. Reed, we are going to talk about hidden stressors today. So HIDDEN. And I would love to dig in and talk a little bit more about how we use hidden, how we look at testing. We're not going to talk about specific testing, but we'll talk about, how FDNs can incorporate looking deeper into the body. So let's start it out with H. Reed, can you talk to us a little bit about hidden stressor H?
I will, but let me give you just a tiny bit of background first, because this isn't something I just pulled out of thin air. It was really the result of hard work over a 10-year period. I ran thousands of labs on thousands of people. Now I had my choice of labs. The mentors, the doctors that I was working with, I was basically a nutritionist working in a wellness center in Southern California, but they let me run all the labs I wanted. I just fell in love. Really? I can run labs under you guys? Okay, I'm going to. And because I was on the hunt for the underlying causes and conditions of the people walking in the door. Everyone was caught in the cycle of trial and error. They were desperately searching for what's really wrong with me instead of just, take these supplements or something like that. And so I went crazy running labs. Now, just so happens that the first labs I started running began with H, hormone testing. So when I wasn't at the clinic, I was out doing my bone density testing. I had a website called bonesandhormones.com. And I helped a lot of women with their bones by helping them with their hormones. That was my first original niche, if you will, or niche. Bones and hormones, women 45, 55, 65, wanted to work on their hormones. And man, I saw a lot of them getting better. And so now I just made testing hormones part of every single assessment. And because anyone with a health problem, anyone with any kind of stress at all, they're going to have some hormones likely out of balance. Now, if they're not, great, but we always screen, we always check the hormones. What we're looking for is the first of all, cortisol to DHEA ratio. You have your catabolic hormone, cortisol, which breaks your body down. And you have your anabolic hormone, DHEA, which builds it back up. So those two hormones, I found that if they were in balance, if those hormones were in balance, we had a good shot at it being a pretty quick fix, But most of the time, those hormones were not in balance. The cortisol was elevated relative to the DHEA. And so that's an important phrase relative to the DHA. So the cortisol dominance, catabolic state, not good for a person, lots of complaints. And so that was the first sort of enlightenment I had around underlying causes and conditions, was around the hormones being out of balance. So we always test the hormones. H, hormones.
Perfect. So we do have a quick question if you want to answer it. So Lizette wants to know, can we run labs without being under a doctor? So I'll let you speak to that.
Yes, Lizette, and that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked, because, you know, I ran this in the office, all these thousands of labs, thousands of people under the doctors there. But when I started teaching, I had to create, this is back in 2008, the very first direct-to-consumer / health coach lab testing program. So I really was, you know, a pioneer in this, and it was strictly out of need. You know, I wanted to go teach. Everyone wanted me to go teach. Reed, go teach, go teach. I'm like, okay, good. I'm out there, I'm teaching. Here's what I do: lab work and natural protocols. Well, how do we get the lab work done? Oh, shit. I didn't think about that. So I created the very first direct-to-consumer / health coach lab testing program where, yes, you absolutely can get these done on your clients. And we've been doing it since 2008. We're kind of the masters of it. And again, it pioneered the way for a lot of other programs.
Right. Absolutely. So on the trail of hidden stressors, we have I, and so we want to talk a little bit about how we are looking at the I in hidden stressors.
Well, it's very interesting, you know, the I. Now, by the way, I didn't learn quite in this order. I learned HIDD, kind of all at once, just kind of pulled it together. I was testing the hormones, but I noticed a lot of these women had problems with their immune system. They had a lot of leaky gut. But I didn't know that until I was already testing digestion and looking at, you know, that whole function and detoxification. The livers are very toxic. So these people had leaky gut. So what are you looking at when you look at the mucosal barrier, basically the GI tract? You're looking at two things. One is breakdown and absorption of food, which then goes into the liver for detoxification and processing. But you're also looking at the immune system, and it's a barrier. So that barrier, there's a dichotomy there. There's an interesting paradox that it has to let good things through and keep bad stuff out. So that's where the immune system kicks in very interesting physiological ways. It's very exciting to study this. If you like anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, if you like 7th grade science as much as I did, that's what you can learn this stuff. You know, now it's above 7th grade level, but I'm just telling you, I speak in very straight terms. And if you like 7th grade science class, cutting open frogs and stuff, you would love that portion of our course that will teach you the anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. But the bottom line is, we test the hormones, we look at digestion and detoxification, and the immune system is just an obvious player. It's so important. And so we use different labs for different, you know, depending on the situation. But you got to look at the hormone immune. And I already stole your thunder. I said, I already gave away what the two Ds are.
Detoxification and digestion?
Yep.
Awesome. So Tamala is asking on the website for running the labs. So if you are interested in learning how to utilize the lab testing with your clients, check out functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com. In order to have access to those labs, you do need to be a graduate of the FDN program.
Yeah, so in order to use my MDP, Medical Director Program, in order to get the labs done for your clients, you do have to be a graduate of the program. It's not something anyone can do. I just created a way, and it's completely ethical and legal, and there's just no problem. We've been doing it since 2008, and I have, again, my own legal background, and lots of people. Matter of fact, isn't your husband, we have so many people that work for us or have gone through our program, and their husbands or their spouses are lawyers, you know, and they always like, huh, is that right? Can you actually do that? Well, yeah, we can.
Yeah, no, my husband's not a lawyer. He just He's law enforcement.
Law enforcement, not, yeah.
Yeah. So Reed, let's talk a little bit about, we talked about HIDD. So let's talk about E. What is E?
Well, it's energy production, but I want to say that we for years, I had just kind of mapped out the HIDD, hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification. When you're able to look at detoxification like liver function, you're able to look at digestion, like what's going on. Are they breaking down and absorbing nutrients? Or are they malnourished? No matter how good of food you're eating, if you're not breaking it down and absorbing, if you don't have good digestion, it's not going to work out for you. And your immune system, of course, is part of that, highly integrated system of eating, letting good stuff through, keeping bad stuff out. And it's huge. And it just cascades from there. If there's a problem, it cascades throughout the whole body. But it took me a few more years. I mean, I did very well. We had a great batting average, like amazing, like building a reputation type thing. For success with clients who otherwise had almost intractable chronic downward spiraling chronic conditions that they weren't getting any satisfaction from standard medicine from, and very little from even some of the alternative community. We started digging deeper and looking at things in that way. Now, when I started really focusing in on diet, because diet is an obvious part of the solution, right? You can go back through the archives of this show, the Health Tip Tuesdays, and look at where Piper and I went over our Dress for Health Success program, which is the other half of the program. One half is, investigating. The other half is, assessing, giving people things to do. That's health coaching based on data. What's wrong with that, right? Based on data. Oh, what a concept. Based it on data. Your protocols. And the diet needs to be based on data too. Mm-hmm. And the diet needs to be based on the type of rate that you burn fuel at. That's called the oxidative rate. And so that's where the energy production comes from. Do you think you have to teach any of your cells what to do? No. One precept of FDN is that the cells already know what to do. They're pre-programmed. There's an innate intelligence. You just have to give them the right fuel to do their, and that fuel has to be burned at the right rate and quality and quantity. And diet is the number one determination of whether they're going to produce. The cells are going to act as smart as they're designed to be. Because if you don't fuel them right, they don't act as well. They don't produce energy. They don't do their job the right way, or as well as they could or should. They'll get by, but that's how you end up in a downward spiral.
You mean and then go around and eat Pop-Tarts and Doritos?
Well, you could, but you will suffer the consequences. Or there's on one hand suffering the consequences of eating wrong, or there's enjoying the benefits of eating right, which are also consequences. So I guess there's good and bad consequences, but enjoy the benefits of eating right. Your cells produce energy at the right rate, quality, quantity. They do their job super well. And that's a pretty good foundation for health. It's not the only thing, but that's the E for energy production.
Awesome. So we've talked about H, we've talked about I, we've talked about both D's, we talked about E. So we're on our final hidden stressor. What is N?
Well, N is also just a magnificent, sort of easy to understand thing. And it's the nervous system balance. Now, N just, I could say autonomic balance, but the A didn't work. N worked better. So hidden, so nervous system balance. But it is autonomic balance within the nervous system. You have your sympathetic and you have your parasympathetic. These must be in balance. People who are overly sympathetic dominant suffer from all kinds of problems, anxiety, and your real super A personalities, they just are sort of need to chill, and they can't seem to find a way. And so they suffer a lot of problems because of that, not just mentally and emotionally, but physiologically. Your sympathetic nervous system is responsible for certain activities in your body. Now, the other one that needs to be built is your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, people who are overly parasympathetic do tend to be more chill. They're maybe your most of the time couch potatoes and stuff. If you have two kids and one is sympathetic dominant, one's parasympathetic dominant, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One can't sit down for 2 minutes. The other one just loves to just chill. He's the laid back guy or gal.
I totally have that. I have one who's parasympathetic and the other is the opposite. Totally. That's funny.
Now, you love them both the same, right?
I do, but yes, I definitely see that. My youngest one says relaxing is his favorite sport.
I'm very parasympathetic dominant. And when I was 10, I give you my word, when I was 10, I was sitting on the fence at the end of our driveway, we had this long driveway, and I'm just sitting on the fence. I've been out there maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, just sitting there. But my mom came out and she goes, like wondering why I wasn't playing or doing something. She goes, why don't you do something? I said, but I am doing something, Mother. I'm sitting on the fence and I'm thinking. To me, that was a legitimate activity and honest answer. And that's exactly what parasympathetics do. They can they can relax and think and use their brains. They're very creative and, all kinds of things. But we also have endless, energy and drive and all kinds of things. But here's the point. HIDDEN. If you knew that you're sympathetic or parasympathetic, and weren't exactly balanced, one was dominating a little too much over there, would you want to eat foods that stimulated that nervous system? Like if you're sympathetic dominant, do you want to eat in such a way that it makes you worse, like continuously stimulates your sympathetic nervous system?
No.
Or would you want to eat foods that stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system? Well, of course, the answer is obvious, So we can use food and supplements and other just understandings of lifestyle and what balance is all about to try to balance out that nervous system or autonomic nervous system. So I just came up with that acronym to make it easy for me to remember and teach. And it seems to have caught on a little bit.
Well, it's great for anybody to remember. I mean, if you go through the course, you're going to learn it, you're going to know it, and then you can use them as a reference with every client you work with.
Yep. And it combined with now there are other things to investigate. HIDDEN are just foundational. There's other things we can look at, which we start doing when we get into the protocol. So we run labs on every person, form our impressions. We always do a very high level of clinical correlation. In other words, whose test results are these? You never treat the paper. Never treat the paper. These test results belong to someone. Who is that person? And what do these test results tell us about that person? Not a group, not a cohort, but one individual. Now, then you can advise some things to do. You can make some suggestions to that person. And that's what health coaches do. We make suggestions, and it is based on data. It's their data, not ours. And we just educate around things they can do. And part of that is stress reduction. That may involve some additional testing. People have a lot of oxidative stress, a lot of free radical, stuff going on. There's things in their environment that they need to know about, chemical stressors, there's food sensitivities, there's parasites, bacteria, funguses, viruses. There's other investigation. But if you start with that foundation, it'll point you in the right direction. It'll give you and your client something to do, and that's legit, that's real. It's based on data, not what you think or how you feel about it. Those are important considerations, but to me, the data rules.
Yeah, I agree. And I think anybody who goes through the FDN program would agree as well that the data really rules.
Data well correlated with an individual.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So if some of you are just joining us, I see we have a ton of people watching right now. Make sure to drop the word test below. We are going to send you our 3-step guide to getting real results for yourself and your client. And if you have questions, make sure to drop them in the chat. We will absolutely get to those. And Reed, it has come to your favorite part of the show every time you're on is, do you have a takeaway, a tip, tool, or resource you would like to share with people watching today?
Oh man, I have so many, of course. My favorite lately has been meditating in the sauna. I have a sauna space sauna, which is the near infrared type. It's, oh my God, you sweat like almost right away. There's no sort of warm up time. You go in there and you know, flip a few pages. What I do is I actually listen to my favorite meditation tape or other stuff. You know, and I mean, you could learn Spanish if you want while you're in the sauna, you know, but I tend to want to kind of clear my mind a bit. You know, it is a form of stress reduction. Not only that, you're really expanding your consciousness. I'll put it that way. You're getting more in touch with this idea of consciousness and collective consciousness and universal consciousness. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I have a sauna space too. I call it the rotisserie of solitude because you could get in there. And yeah, that's a great idea. I might take up Spanish while I'm in there. Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for watching. If you're watching the replay, make sure to drop the word test. We're going to send you that 3-step guide. And Reed, thank you so much for joining me today. And I know you'll be back at the end of next month with Jen. So thank you everybody for watching Health Coach Tip Tuesday. And I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. I will be here tomorrow for the Real Results Show. And we will see you guys then. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Reed.
Before you go, I just want to let everybody know that you're winding down the number of these kind of events that you do for FDN, but you're still a loyal and solid FDN practitioner. And we want to thank you for all the fantastic work you've done over the last year or so, putting on the Facebook Lives and the other events that you do. Thank you so much. I know everyone appreciates it and loves you very much, and that you're going to go on to do more amazing, fantastic work, helping people and enjoying yourself while you do it. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Reed. Yes, I am moving on to a few different things, everybody. So I will no longer be the host, and I know there's some transition going. So thank you, Reed. Thank you, everybody, for watching every week. And yes, I'm not going away. I will still be.
Thank you for everything you do.